Crawford. Crawford needs money.
Yeah, the team for you? I'm not leaving.
Somebody else. That's what he's saying.
Somebody asked Lomachenko.
No. Turkey said he got you 2 Ferraris ready. What you think about that? Oh, Turkey said he got you 2 Ferraris ready.
Gervontadavis and Terencecrawford are back at it again, and this time the shots being thrown are just as explosive as any knockout punch. The beef between them has been brewing for a while, but Tank's latest comments about Crawford's fight with Canelo have turned up the heat again. Crawford is set to move up 2 weight classes to fight Canelo later this year, a fight that many in the boxing world see as a massive challenge. Packing on 14 ubs to face a naturally bigger and stronger fighter like Canelo is no easy task, but Crawford has been clear about his motivations. I want to challenge myself. Canelo is a great fighter. He's an all-time great, one of the best that came out of Mexico. I'm one of the all-time greats. I feel why not put it to the test. History, what do they say? Big chances, big reward. Wards. I'm looking for that big reward. Crawford made it clear this is about legacy, about testing himself against one of the best fighters in the world. But Tank Davis wasn't buying any of that. He wasn't impressed with Crawford's reasoning, and he made sure to let the world know exactly how he saw it. Crawford needs the music. Money, that wasn't a question, that wasn't speculation. Tanks said it like it was a fact, like there was no other reason Crawford would take this fight except for a big payday. And that was just the start. Tank didn't just call him out for chasing money, he took things further by throwing some serious shade at how Crawford has been looking physically in the ring. He needs the money for sure. I'm telling you, he's a good fighter. I would say smaller fighters are always better than bigger fighters, cause they know how to move and things like that. But didn't he get clipped by Gambo, right? How the fuck is he looking this strong over the past year? He ain't been getting clipped. Or nothing that snacks. I'm telling you, y'all laugh.
What's in? Come on, man, tell me what belts. You know boxing. I forgot Devin was under undisputed, but I ain't got all the belts. Nobody else. I'm up here with the big boys.
Tank wasn't just questioning Crawford's strength, he was straight up suggesting something shady was going on. He brought up Yuri Orcus Gambo, a fighter who hurt Crawford years ago, and basically said it didn't make sense how Crawford had looked so dominant in recent times. And then, just to make sure people really got what he was saying, he mentioned Snack Victor Snack Nutrition as a history in the sport, and not always in a good way. Whenever fighters are linked to it, there's always a whisper about performance enhancers, about how legit their strength really is. Tank didn't accuse Crawford directly, but he knew exactly what he was doing by throwing that out there. He wanted people to question how Crawford has been performing. He wanted them to think there's something unnatural about it.
You do like all the other fighters that moving up 2 weight classes. They're gonna be good. You will fight. We gotta come in 4 people. Got a glass team. Tell them come and touch. Wow.
Crawford wasn't going to let that slide. He came back just as hard, and he went straight for Tank's ego. Why is he talking like he's the greatest in the sport? Little dude hasn't even fought no one. The fans know it, we know it. Crawford wasn't just responding, he was reminding everyone that Tank hasn't faced the kind of opposition that he has, because as much as Tank is one of the biggest names in boxing, the biggest criticism against him has always been about his opponents. He hasn't fought Devin Haney, he hasn't fought Shakur Stevenson, he hasn't fought Vasily Lomachenko. People have been calling him out for it for years, and Crawford made sure to hit that spot directly.
Right? I know we're going to start this row first, you think, right? And then, or is it?
You know what I mean? He know what he up against when he fights for. You know what I mean? He want to fight these guys that everybody in the world knows that ain't gonna do no fight.
Didn't stop there, he took things even further, making it clear that Tank hasn't been tested the way he has. The only way Tank will learn his lesson is if he gets dropped by his opponent. Crawford wasn't just talking about fights, he was talking about humbling experiences, about the fact that Tank has never been in a fight where he's had to really dig deep, where he's been in serious trouble. Crawford, on the other hand, has fought killers, he's been hurt, he's battled through tough moments, and he's come out on top. But Tank Crawford doesn't see the same kind of adversity in his career. And to push his point even further, he threw his support behind Lamontroach, The man Tank is set to fight next. The guy he's fighting, Lamont, that's a fighter who has more balls than he will ever have to be great. He can be like all the other fighters that moving up two-way classes. And you know, daring to be great, you would fight him. Man, tell him to come up there. He got to come to win 54. He said, I got a glass chin, so tell him come and touch it. Crawford didn't just praise Roach, he used him as a way to call out Tank's entire approach to boxing. He was saying that Roach, a guy with far less fame and far fewer big paydays, is more willing to take risks than Tank has ever been. And that's a shot that cuts deep, because if there's one thing Tank doesn't want to be seen as, it's a fighter who plays it safe. According to Terence, Lamont Roach is not picking opponents like Tank does, so Tank shouldn't tell anyone that they're after the money. You know, unification, right? I know we last off big bro first the Tank, right? And then, or is it whoever I told Tank, know what's up, you know what I mean. He know what he up against when he fights Shecker or Keen. You know what I mean, you want to fight these guys that everybody in the world know that ain't going to give him no fight. They not mentally there. That's the irony that Crawford wanted everyone to see, because while Tank was out here saying Crawford is only doing this for money, Crawford turned it right back on him. He was saying, you're the one picking opponents carefully. You're the one avoiding the biggest challenges. You're the one making sure every fight you take is the safest path to the bag. Tank knew what he was doing when he made those comments. He wanted to control the conversation. He wanted people to question why Crawford took this fight. He wanted them to wonder if it was really about legacy or just about cash. And by bringing up Snack, he wanted to stir up doubts about how Crawford has been looking in the ring. But Crawford didn't just sit back, he fired back. And he made sure to hit Tank where it hurt. And with the way things are going, this back and forth is nowhere near over. I got a question for you, Tank. At 147, how does a fight with you and Terence Crawford look? Damn, 147 tap that CH. You know he going to sleep. I already know he is. I already know he is. Tank has never been one to follow the crowd. While other boxing stars are chasing massive paydays in Saudi Arabia, Tank is standing firm in the US, refusing to let the sport be controlled by outsiders who, in his words, don't know nothing about the sport he's watching. As some of the biggest names, Crawford, Canelo, Ben Aids, are signing deals and flying across the world to fight under Turkey Alal Sheikh's banner. But Tank, he's not interested. He's got his own empire to build, and he's not about to let someone else dictate how he moves. For Davis, it's not just about the money, it's about the integrity of the sport. And after seeing what happened during the recent Saudi Arabia card, he's more convinced than ever that he made the right decision to stay put. You guys saw the guy Alal Sheikh looked at the scorecards. That's not just an offhand music comment. That's Davis calling out something he sees as deeply wrong. During the Carlos Adames versus Hamza Shara's fight, Alal Sheikh was caught on camera standing behind Shara corner holding up two fingers. Many believe he was signaling that Shara's needed a knockout to win, and right after that the fight ended in a highly questionable draw, allowing Adams to retain his WBC middleweight title. The WBC and British Boxing Board of Control tried to brush it off, saying Alal Sheikh couldn't have possibly known the scorecards, but Davis isn't buying it. He saw what he saw, and if the sport's biggest power players are willing to look the other way, that just confirms his suspicions. TC is good, but he's not what people make on the same, not pound for pound. Davis has been in boxing long enough to know that corruption exists, bad decisions, politics, favoritism. It's always been part of the game, but this feels different. This feels like an entire sport being taken over by one man with endless money, and Davis isn't about to play along. They were saying, man, we got to get Tank over here for a fight with Shakur. Man, I already know what you're going to do. He knows exactly why they want him in Saudi Arabia. A fight between him and Shakur Stevenson would be a blockbuster, one of the biggest fights in boxing. But Davis isn't just looking at the paycheck, he's looking at the situation. He sees how things are being run over there, and he doesn't like it. What would I care about these titles for? You can't eat no belt. Pain makeup covers up a lot of imperfection. Matchmaking can do the same thing. What are you scared of in this sport? It's like your job never done. Anybody could be undisputed in the right fight. You want me to go sell a title that I didn't work my whole life for? But boxers do that. How can it? And let's be real, Davis doesn't need to go anywhere. He's already a star. His upcoming fight against Lamontroach is set to break records at Brooklyn's Barclays Center, producing the most lucrative live boxing gate in the NBA arena. Since he last fought there 3 years ago, he's the biggest draw in the lightweight division, and he's got massive fights lined up in the future. Lomachenko, Stevenson, Garcia, those are all multi-million-dollar fights waiting to happen. But here's the question, will those fights even happen in the US anymore? Because right now, Saudi Arabia is swallowing up the sport. Canelo Alvarez just signed a 4-fight deal with Alal Sheikh, meaning he's locked in to fight in Saudi Arabia at least 3 times, including giving up his traditional Cinco deal fight in Las Vegas. to fight there instead. Terence Crawford, the undisputed welterweight king, is set to fight there in September. David Benavidez, after saying he wanted to stay in the US, was seen meeting with Al Sheikh just days ago, and Oscar de la Hoya, instead of putting on a massive Latino night card in places like Los Angeles, Phoenix, or San Antonio, took the event to Saudi Arabia. Instead, the US is losing its grip on big-time boxing, and Davis is one of the last stars standing. Not all money's good money. No, that's the part a lot of these fighters don't understand. Yeah, the Saudi checks are massive. What are they giving up in return? Control, influence, the ability to dictate their own careers. Davis isn't blind. He sees what's happening. He's not saying fighters shouldn't make their money, but at what cost? I just don't like how this guy comes into the game, and he doesn't know anything about the sport, nothing, and that's the core of it. Al Sheikh isn't a lifelong boxing promoter. He's not a fighter. He's a Saudi government official with deep pockets and a mission to turn his country into a global sports hub. He's bringing in boxing legends like Roberto Duran, setting up extravagant fight cards and making moves that traditional boxing promoters wouldn't dream of. But he's also making fights that don't make sense, like Canelo versus Crawford. That's a fight with a major size disadvantage. Is that just you being competitive like when that happens? Or man, I just really don't like that dude. Why though? Cause I just don't like them. Like I really don't like them. That's I don't like, not your cup of tea. That's just not, I don't like nothing about him. Canelo is a natural super middleweight who has fought at light heavyweight. Crawford, for all his greatness, is a welterweight in any other era. This fight wouldn't even be considered, but Al Sheikh is making it happen not because it's right for the sport, but because he can, and now there's talk of him creating new boxing leagues, completely changing the sports structure. He's already backed a WBC league. For young fighters and insiders say another league announcement is coming soon to Davis. This is exactly why he's staying away. The sport is being reshaped by someone who, in his view, doesn't understand it. He sees fighters ling up to kiss the ring, chasing paychecks without asking questions, and he's standing alone, refusing to fall in line. To me, sent to me 2 Ferrari to play in Saudi Arabia. I said to him, we will send you 2 gloves if you want to play in Saudi Arabia. That's it. He said to me, send to me 2 Ferraris to play in Saudi Arabia. I said to him, everyone's going over there. He keeps saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. You don't know anything about the sport. How are you going to do that? That's the frustration. Tank sees it happening in real time. Boxing's biggest name selling out, and nobody questioning whether it's good for the sport. And the truth is, Davis is in a rare position. He's one of the few fighters who can afford to take this stand. Most boxers don't have the luxury of turning down huge paydays, but Davis, he's already one of the highest paid fighters in the world. He sells out arenas. His pay-per-views do huge numbers. He's got financial security. David, he said to me, send to me 2 Ferrari to play in Saudi Arabia. I said to him, we will send you 2 gloves if you want to play in Saudi Arabia. That's it. And he's got a vision. He wants to be the face of boxing in America. He wants to keep the sport alive in Vegas, New York, Los Angeles. He wants the biggest fights to happen on home soil, not halfway across the world under rules and conditions he doesn't trust. That's why his fight against Roach Jr. matters. It's not just about defending his title. It's about proving that boxing in the US is still strong, that a fighter can be a massive star without taking Saudi money, that there's still a future for American boxing. But after this fight, what happens next? If not y'all going to give it to him? So that's what made me like, oh yeah, I see what's going on. So now give me 2 or 4 or 3 Ferraris. If not, ain't no point at me going over there. For y'all got the money to do it right. 2, 3, 4 Ferrari. Cause I heard you said 2. Terence Crawford doesn't just see John Davis as another fighter. He doesn't see him as just another champion or just another name in the sport. To Crawford, Davis represents something much deeper, something personal. It's not about competition. It's not about weight classes or pound for pound debates. It's about the kind of person Davis is, and that's where Crawford draws the line. Crawford didn't hesitate when asked about it during his interview with Cigar Talk. There was no sugarcoating, no political answer, no forced respect. He made it clear he does not like John Davis. I mean, I Oasis that like my judge. That was the first time I've been, you know what I mean for sure. So obviously Drake and Kendrick, that's the hottest in the culture right now. Duck Kendrick went at it, everybody talking about it. What do you listen to these records? What you feel like? How you who's winning? Like what Tank is listening to right now? I ain't listened to her not one bit, not because of anything Davis has done to him directly, but because of who Davis is, how he carries himself, and what Crawford believes is a false sense of arrogance, shielded by fame, money, and bodyguards. And man, I just really don't like that dude. I just don't like him. Like I really don't like him. I don't like anything about him. That's not a fighter talking about a future opponent. That's not hype for a fight that may never happen. That's real personal disdain. And it's rare to hear a fighter speak so openly about another, especially when they don't even compete in the same division. But that's just how Crawford operates. He doesn't bite his tongue, and he doesn't pretend to respect someone just because they share the same profession. I just don't like how this guy come in the game, and he don't know nothing about the sport. And he don't know nothing about this day, and everybody going over there like he wasn't even like at first, he wasn't even people that know stuff about sport and fights. He just saying like, yeah, and do this. I'm to Crawford Davis is a fighter who thrives on his public image, a superstar who plays up his tough guy persona, but wouldn't act the same way if he didn't have security around him or cameras pointed at him. It's not about Davis' skills in the ring. Crawford gave him his credit. It's about his attitude, his behavior, the way he moves when he's not in the gym or under the bright lights. Davis, of course, didn't take this lightly. He never does the moment Crawford's comments hit social media. Davis was quick to respond with a post that was just as direct as Crawford's interview, but in classic Tank fashion, the post didn't last long. It was deleted almost as fast as it went up. That's Davis's style. He fires shots, then pulls back, leaving just enough for people to talk, but not enough to keep it circulating forever. Are you just not interested in fighting over there? It's not that. But they came at me wrong the first time they ever came at me, which they said I will fight Devin. And then when he was saying like Devin was his guy, so I'm like, if DM got y'all got to pay me. But even without the post still being live, the tension is obvious. This isn't the first time they clashed. Their history of going back and forth online is well documented, and there's always been an undercurrent of hostility whenever one speaks about the other. But this time Crawford took it beyond Twitter jabs and Instagram comments. He laid it all out in a full interview. He made sure people knew this wasn't about boxing. This wasn't just a competitive thing. This was real. And that's before even getting to the other issue between them, Shakur-Stevenson. If there's anything that's going to make their rivalry even hotter, it's the way Crawford views a potential fight between Davis and Stevenson. Shakur against Tank. Okay, yes. So yeah, you and Canelo Alvarez were not on the same page last year. Now you are down to Davis. You're giving an invitation to Von Davis. I don't take anything as a personal. I take it as I am professional, right? Stevenson is Crawford's guy. They've been close for years. And it's no secret that Crawford has been mentoring him, guiding him, and watching his rise with pride. So when the conversation turned to a possible Stevenson versus Davis fight, there was never any doubt about who Crawford was backing. But it wasn't just about loyalty. Crawford didn't just say Stevenson would win because they're friends. He broke it down in a way that made it clear he believes Stevenson is the better fighter. We're going to take his personality and personal things out of it. But boxing, he's definitely talented, and he's definitely got that. And he's definitely respected in boxing, but Shakur is a different fighter. If we was to fight right now on the streets, I'll break your neck. And that's on my kids. And you know it, I know it, and the whole world know it. And I'm not talking about no fighting in the ring. If me and you was the fight outside, I would break. He didn't say Davis wasn't great. He didn't downplay his talent. But what he did say is that Davis has never faced anyone like Stevenson. He pointed out that people called Floyd Mayweather boring and questioned his power just like they do with Stevenson. But Floyd was a master of defense, and in Crawford's eyes, Stevenson is built the same way. The key, Davis won't be able to hit Stevenson like he hits everyone else. I fight Rye again. If they not on some hoe, I'll text that ass again. Tell them boys to give me 150M. I'm coming, you know what I mean when I start streaming out that start talking that stop it, knock it off, cuss, stop it. This isn't the first time someone has said he'd struggle against a slick technical boxer. People said similar things before he fought Hector Luis Garcia. They said it before he fought Ryan Garcia, and both of them ended up being stopped. But what's your take on Crawford's thoughts? Share it below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more updates.